Hello and welcome to Retro Core, and today we're taking a look at Repro Games. Some of these games are reproductions, some of them are original. Can you tell which is which? Probably not. Let's dive in to take a closer look. So yes, as we said in the introduction, some of these games are original, some of them are reproductions. But can you tell just by looking at the spine? Probably not, and that's because I've changed the boxes. The original cases that some of these repros came in were not these original cases. These are actual Japanese Mega Drive cases. The original repros came in a case like this. Now you may be thinking, well, it looks the same, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Let's take a look at the Japanese version of Steel Empire next to this American one. Both of these are reproductions. Just that this one is being put into a proper Japanese Mega Drive case, and this is in the Repro case. Now if we take a look on an angle, you'll be able to see that this one is very glossy, and also the plastic is quite loose on it. If we take a look at from the top, you can see it sticks up here. Look at that, it's very loose. And also the case itself is thinner. Only marginally thinner, but it is thinner. Also the molding is very different on it. Take a look at the sides. All Repro games come in a case that looks like this. And as you can see, they don't close properly. They have this gap here, whereas an official case does not. Now, official Japanese cases didn't have the little hook on the top. Although European ones did, and maybe American ones do too. I'm not too sure about that. But another telltale sign, as if you didn't already know that this was a Repro case, is when you open it up, there is no Sega logo on it. As you can see, nothing at all, just a serial number. So that's how you can tell a repro from an original, just by the case. Now you may be thinking, well, maybe just this repro comes in this weird case. Not so. Here are the original cases from the Repro games I got, and as you can see, they are all the same. And I bought the repros from two different companies, and the quality is different of the actual cartridges, but they both use the exact same cases. So let's take a look at the two types of repros which are available. And I must say that I in no way condone buying repros and selling them on as originals. If you do that, you're nothing but scum. Anyway, let's take a look at the different types of repro. So here we are with repros from two different companies located in two completely different parts of China. Now remember, these have been put into official Mega Drive cases because those repro cases are just awful. Now on first glance they look to be the same, but the quality is different. These ones are from a company called Repro Games, and they are the cheaper ones, but only slightly cheaper. These cost me 1,765 yen each. Look at it, some converter software to see what that is in your local currency. These ones came from a store which I can't pronounce, but it's spelled CSUOFAT. And these ones cost a little bit more, 1,911 yen. But what's the difference? Well, straight away you can see on the MD sign here, apart from this one because they took the cover from a faded cover, these ones have better color reproduction. See how these are darker. Also, the cartridges are different. So let's take a look at Steel Empire and Battlemania 2. Now upon opening up the cartridge, you can see, upon opening up the box I should say, you can see that the Steel Empire uses the correct label. This is the correct label for Steel Empire. This is not the wrong label. Whereas this one, the cheaper one, uses basically the front cover of the cartridge box as the cartridge label. See? So that is not the correct way the cartridge looks. So if you see that, you know instantly it's a repro. If you saw that, you'd be thinking, oh yeah, it could be an original. Now, In the past, Repro has had really nasty cases, really brittle plastic. These ones, well, a little bit soft, but not bad. They're pretty decently molded, but no sticker on the back, as you can see. These ones, a little bit more firmer, a little bit more substantial, like an official Mega Drive cartridge. And they even went to the bother of putting the sticker on the back, like an official Mega Drive cartridge. Now, I must say that both of these Repros don't have amazing stickers. You can see it's peeling a little bit already at the top there. Don't know if you can see that. And this one as well. In fact, all Repros I buy have labels which are slightly taller than the original game. But let's take a look at the actual manuals. Now, what I did like is all the manuals from the more expensive store came in these little plastic bags to keep them fresh. Very nice indeed. And they are printed on very glossy paper. As you can see, it's shining there. And the actual reproduction of the manual is a little bit blurry. Instantly, you will know that that is not official. And the colors are washed out, and you know, the paper itself, it's just photographic paper. And it smells like chemicals. But still, the whole manual is there, and it's in full color. Taking a look at the cheaper Repro, remember it's only cheaper by a few pennies. These ones come with a much better manual in my opinion. As you can see, it is still glossy, but it's not silk paper, it's matte paper, so it's much more like an original. Also, the print quality is better. It's much more sharper, it's got better color reproduction, and overall seems more professional. Although they have photocopied the staples there and put more staples in down here. But yes, the manuals are better in these cheaper Repros. And to show it's not just this one game, let's take a look at another. Okay, let's check out Twinkle Tail and this one, Eliminate Down. Alright. So again, Twinkle Tail from the more expensive store. It has the proper label for the cartridge. Again, it's too glossy and it is a little bit too big at the back, it overlaps. And again, the manual came in this little bag. So let's just put that down there and let's open up the cheaper reproduction. Again, wrong cartridge sticker, it's just the front cover of the game stuck on the cartridge. And again, no sticker on the back. But the manual is better. So let's take a look together. Alright, so hopefully you can see that this one is gloss and this one is matte. I know it's difficult to see on camera, but this one is definitely more in line with an original booklet. In fact, let's take a look at an original Mega Drive game cartridge booklet and see how it compares. This is Exdanza. So let's get them all together. Right, and as you can see, the original plus this Repro can reflect the light in a similar manner, whereas this Repro, the more expensive one, is way too glossy. Alright, so let's just see what the print quality is like in this one. Opening it up, we can see, yeah, it's fairly sharp. It looks good. Much cleaner than the more expensive Repro. And the color reproduction is also very good. So let's take a look at the more expensive reproduction with the glossy manual. And yes, just like Steel Empire, the text is a little bit blurred. The color reproduction isn't so good. Now look at that screenshot, that's terrible. You can see it's all blurry down there as well. Nowhere near as good. So it seems to be that the cartridges in the more expensive one are better, but the manuals are worse. But what about the actual covers? Which is better? Well, let's take a look. The more expensive reproductions have the cover printed on paper, which is very similar to official Mega Drive covers. The cheaper reproductions, let's take a look at that, are printed on a more gloss paper, which are a little bit thicker. But yeah, don't feel too bad. The only problem with them is the color reproduction is not so good. In fact, these use the exact same paper that the more expensive repros use for the manual. Now, if only the cheaper reproductions use the same paper for the cover that they use for the manual, we'd be onto a winner. But the thing is, are the cartridges beveled? Let's take a look. Now, you may be wondering what I'm talking about when I say, is the cartridge beveled? Well, if we take a look at an official Mega Drive cartridge, the edge connector here is not perfectly straight. It is actually beveled on one side. Now, it's a little bit difficult to see when the cartridge is in the case, so let's take a look at cartridge outside of the case. Alright, here's one. Now, looking front on, you can't really tell. Now, looking at the cartridge side on, you can see that the corner here is ever so slightly beveled. If I put this here, you may be able to see it a little bit easier. It's not perfectly straight. Now, this little tiny curve here helps with putting the cartridge in and out of a console. It makes it a lot easier on the mechanism and less strainful. Now, the Repro cartridges, as you can see, let's see if we can get it in focus, it's perfectly flat. And this puts more strain on the cartridge pins of your console. So that is one downside with reproductions. Thing is though, as long as you're not playing them constantly, it won't damage your machine that much. But if you're always using reproductions, then you're in for a bit of trouble. But there's also something else you should be wary of. Let's take a look. Now you see, an official cartridge is designed to run at 3.3 volts, whereas these repros use flash chips, and these are designed to run at 5 volts. Now, just using these type of cartridges every now and then isn't going to damage your machine, as a lot of people who are uneducated keep saying so, but if you use them constantly, there is the chance of your machine being damaged by overpowering the CPU and so on, because that extra power's got to go somewhere and it goes straight back into your hardware. Now, I'm not going to get into any arguments about this in the comment section down below, but for those who grew up in the 90s, especially those in less fortunate countries, you've probably played repros a lot, and I bet you your Mega Drive or Genesis never broke. So that's why I don't believe these reproductions will damage your machine unless you are constantly using them and pushing them in and out of cartridge ports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, before I slightly touched upon the beveled edge of the cartridge, telling you it was easier to insert and pull out. Well, let's take a look. I'm not going to use a real machine, but we've got this cartridge adapter here. In goes the original. It's actually quite a tight fit. Yeah, and in it went perfectly fine. And pulling out, wow, that was actually quite a tight fit. Okay, and for the Repro, let's check that one out. Yeah, now as you can see, that is much more difficult to get in. Oh, there we go, we got it in. And that's because the edge is not beveled. But it did come out better. Now, because the edge is not beveled, the cartridge pins here do stand a chance of getting bent down when this perfectly flat surface is pushed against them. Whereas when this slightly beveled edge is pushed against them, you have a little bit more leeway. Now, there's another good thing about repros. You can make your own custom cartridge. Now, one of these games here is not original. One of them I made myself. But which one? Well, those of you who know Mega Drive games already know. It's this one, Junkers High, because Junkers High is actually the prototype version of Outrun 2026, is it? The original title was Junkers High, and this is the prototype version, which I have a physical copy of. So let's just take these two away. Now, of course, the cover and everything was designed by myself. The artwork wasn't. That was from somewhere on the net. I made this years ago. But the logo, the box art, the company logos, the side panel here, everything is originally made by myself. Even the text. Oh yes. Now, how did I get the game onto the cartridge? Well, very simple. I sent the ROM to one of the makers in China and they burnt it onto a cartridge for me. All they sent me was the PCB. All I had to do is send them the ROM. But as you can see, the label, which I made myself, is much better quality than any of the reproduction cartridges. It fits perfectly, it's perfectly rounded, the color is good. It is like an original, well, besides the sticker on the back. So the thing is, do you really have to make do with a reproduction made by the Chinese? Or can you make your own? Take a look. This one has faded color. The sticker is not perfectly seated on the cartridge. And on the back, it's too long. You can make your own and have it perfectly right. It doesn't take a lot of skills. Anyone who has some decent knowledge of Photoshop or any other art program can make their own. The only problem is, you get no manual. Okay, so let's finish up with taking a look at the difference between an official and a reproduction. Talking to reproductions, a certain gaming historian used a reproduction version of Cyberball on his last video. I wonder if he thought anyone would notice. I certainly did. It didn't help that he kept it in the original Repro box, that's for sure. The glossy front of it gave it away straight away. Anyway, how can you tell the difference between a reproduction and an official cartridge when they sneakily put the reproduction inside an official cartridge case? Because once it's in one of these cases, it's difficult to tell. I mean, look at that. Would you know that this Twinkle Tail was a reproduction? You wouldn't. Not at all. Taking a look at the side. Well, it is cut a little bit near the top, so that is a bit of a giveaway. But still, you probably wouldn't notice. The difference in color could be down to sun fading or sun bleaching, as it's called in some areas. And again, on the back, you wouldn't really know, would you? And as we showed before, the manuals can look very authentic. So the only real way to tell if it's a repro or not is by the cartridge. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that not only do you get a look at the front of the cartridge, but you get a look at the back, because that's when you can tell it's a repro. See how much longer the Twinkle Tail sticker is on the back? All repros are like that. They're all too long. Every single one is too long. Don't know why, but they make the cartridge stickers too long. And most repros do not have the sticker on the back of the cartridge here. But what if you get a repro with a good sticker? Then, very simple. You're going to have to ask the person to take a picture of the cartridge. Now, official Mega Drive game cartridges are this kind of bronzy color. Can you see that? Whereas the repros are generally white. And just to show you that that is not a one-off, let me get another official Mega Drive game here. And as you can see, that's also a yellowy bronzy color. And let me get another repro from a different manufacturer. And you will see that is white with a green PCB showing. So that is one way to easily tell. In fact, let me just get a very early Mega Drive game. Let's see, Super Monaco GP, that's an early one. And again, it's a bit filthy, but you can see it's a bronze color. So all official Mega Drive games are bronze or brownie colored, whereas the repros are white. And that's how you can tell a repro from an official without having to take it apart, even if it does have perfectly good stickers and perfectly good cover and perfectly good manual. Look at the color of the cartridge PCB. White is shite. golden brown is a winner. Sorry, couldn't think of anything to rhyme with that. Alright, so there you go. Hope you enjoyed this look at official games and reproductions. And remember, don't buy a reproduction and try and sell it off as an official game, because if you do, you're nothing more than an asshole. Simple as that. Alright guys, until next time, keep on gaming and enjoy your games. See ya.